We're here to discuss something which is very imperative, it's important, it's something transitional that we all go through. It's how to make eventually the experience of the consumer better, while at the same time taking all measures that sportsmen involved in various leagues don't have to pay the price, and it becomes enjoyable for them too. So we've got Mrs. Vita Dani, who is the co-owner in the ISL and the co-founder of Ultimate Table Tennis. It's only fair that we set the ball rolling with you, because you've got the perspective from a level of forming a league, of having the interest. What are some of the most important things when you involve yourself in a sport from the point of view of an owner or a co-founder that is at the heart of it?
Thanks, Jatin. For me, I feel the most important thing is to how to promote a game. And especially in case of table tennis, how can we make it a mainstream game? I know I'm sitting here with all cricketers, but one day I hope somebody can say that I'm sitting with somebody who's promoting table tennis. So that's the ultimate aim, how do we really popularize it? And that is one game that everybody plays, be it a cricketer for hand-eye coordination, for reflexes. So it's not that it's not popular, but how do we make it popular on screen? How do we increase the number of fans? How do we... and of course for that what we need to do is get a medal. So our ultimate aim is to get an Olympic medal, and we'll do whatever it takes to work towards it and ensure that we get one.
Well, at the start, let me just thank you for all the efforts that you're taking to ensure that we have our moment under the sun with a shining medal. And it's great actually to have Anil Bhai and Hayden, because both of you, I'm not alluding to the fact that you belong to an older generation. Two are still mighty young, looking very dapper and sharp. But you've seen the transition. You've seen the transition of international sport heading towards this phase and era of leagues coming up aplenty. Was there some initial inhibitions when leagues were coming in, because there were a lot of murmurs that it could threaten sport at the international level? So when you were actively playing, being a part of it, and seeing this entire sporting league culture come in, what were some of the first few thoughts you had as a player before I get into your entrepreneurial roles?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be amongst such elite panelists. I think the first thought when IPL started in 2008, of course, the introduction of a new format. I had sort of got a little bit of a glimpse into T20 cricket when I played county cricket in England, where I played a couple of T20 games. But the first thought was, it's just another game. I don't think anybody knew the sort of strategy. Yes, the strategy was to win the game, but then in terms of putting in thought processes of how to sort of go about constructing your 20 overs was still the ODI kind of a construct rather than a T20 format. So I think from there on, it certainly has changed. Yes, there were inhibitions as to how this would develop, but everybody knew that this was here to stay, even from the first season. Of course, the first game got off to a flying start, and India winning the T20 World Cup certainly hastened that process. So I feel that from 2008 to where we are today, the game has changed. The kind of interest that it had developed over the years. Within that 3 years that I played for RCB in the IPL, was new fan following emerged, and now we can see that. We can see that kind of an interest coming through, and even with innovation within the rules of the game, and then some of these youngsters coming through. I think it's been great for India. It's been great for world cricket in terms of giving opportunities for people to come into and play in franchise cricket. Yes, there were some inhibitions of how this will eat into the other formats. We are still continuing to have those questions, but I don't think those questions will go away. But the rest of the formats have remained, and they're still thriving.
Just the amount of security that it's added to the players. Again, you were part of the early stages of the league. You continue to be a part of it. We see now how cricketers from around the world or sports people from around the world, thanks to the leagues, are becoming household names everywhere. Because it's not just the cream, you're also looking at the second rung or the third rung cricketers that are coming in. So just right at the onset, before we talk about how we need to make leagues more and more immersive, from a player point of view, was it easy to subscribe to the idea? From being an international cricketer to then getting into leagues, playing for local states in other countries. How has it changed our sporting ecosystem?
Namaskar, everyone. Lovely to have your company.
That resonated.
See, I was kind of a villain, aggressive batsman that I was introduced to as today. And so it was about coming into a territory which was kind of a breach in many ways. So I had to hear all of my demonic activities when I first entered the environment. And we don't use this word anywhere near enough when it comes to sport. It was great fun. Fun. It's a non-transactional action that kind of sets your mind dreaming of the possibility of doing something really special. If it's fun, you never ever find a struggle in it. If it's laborious, or you're pushed, or it's managed, you know, these are words that are a corporation type word that doesn't lead to the inspiration or aspiration of just simply playing sport. Miss Dani, when I was about 4 years old, and I lived on a 10-acre house block. There was a pool in our house. My father was a peanut farmer. My mother was a speech and drama teacher. She had letters in music. But she was a great athlete. She played basketball for her state. Very tall lady. Great physique and movement. And I used to love playing ping pong. I had one brother, and ping pong, just because it was there, was a possibility for us. But what was possible about it, firstly, was the fact that it was a competitive sport. I mean, if any one of you have played ping pong, in those 21 points that you have to win, there are moments where you have to be right on song. Anyway, I got to a point where I was playing my mum, who was a great ping pong player, and I started to, as I got older, get much better than her. So I decided then to play the opposite hand. So I started playing the left hand, and she refused to play me left hand because she thought, oh, this is not right. So, you know, the word fun, I hope I've made my point well there. And when it comes to the innovations within the sport, we are greatly resistant to it. I'll never forget the conversation that I had with MS Dani before I went out to play for the Delhi, against Delhi Capitals up in the north. And he said, I will give you anything that you want in life, not to use the mongoose bat. You see, the mongoose bat for me wasn't just about a marketing plan. It was around creating a vision that hadn't been done before. Something that as athletes, as administrators, or commissioners of the game, and as broadcasters, we want to see it, but we're resistant to seeing it. Even just more recently, now, you know, the umpire's making a very optical thing to measure bats. Yes, there's a fairness of the sport which has to be there. There has to be that integrity element, but there has to be innovation, because that again leads to fun. It leads to dreaming of the importance of being able to embrace a newness, a freshness. When you look at the golf club, for example, I don't know if you've ever got out your first golf club or your first tennis racket. Your first tennis racket was like pure wood. It actually had catgut strings, and you'd hit the ball and it wouldn't come off. Now you've got graphite, and the heads are bigger than my head. They're just, the innovation is there. So cricket, I feel, has got actually a very long way to go. And it's also, you know, when it comes back to that first IPL tournament, it was just so important that the game shifted in dimension. It was so ready to do it. I mean, one-day cricket was such a beautiful thing for 2 decades. And then when T20 cricket came along, it was such a beautiful thing now for 2 decades. So again, where is the next vision coming from the game.
That's what we gathered here for, to figure out what perhaps the next few years are going to be. Monish, your story is very fascinating because you've experienced all of this as a fan, and you've spotted the opportunity that it's not just the game that needs to evolve with whether it's technology that can help the equipment to evolve or the rules to evolve. You've actually taken the fan experience to evolve as well. And that is an integral part of it. I speak as a broadcaster. We've got stakeholders here. But you've actually become the stakeholder of the fan. And how did you see this opportunity that to begin with, it's not just the experience that you have on TV, but the in-stadia experience of the fans that is right at the top?
You know, my story started when I was a banker. And I used to travel to London to watch, to work, but also catch a Chelsea game because I'm a huge Chelsea fan. And every time I'd want a ticket, I'd have to make frantic phone calls to friends and family there, trying to get a ticket from a secondary market, pay a ridiculous price, and sit somewhere in the last few rows and still enjoy the game, right? And it was one of those games that I thought there's got to be a better solution. There's got to be a trusted Indian brand that can give me or give Indians a solid sporting experience around the world. I think that idea stayed with me for 7, 8 years before I actually started working on it. But like Matthew said, it's all about fun and innovation, right? So when a fan comes into watching a game live, it's totally unscripted. They don't know what to expect. Emotions are high. Adrenaline is high, and you want to come with your friends and family and have a really good time, right? Have fun. So if the experience is made better, by the sporting event that's organizing the tournament or the leagues that are hosting it, then the fan experience of coming into the stadiums again and again with your family and friends and watching quality sport just completely elevates. And I think over the last decade, internationally and now in India, we're seeing a great shift in terms of the fan experience. So, entry and exit into the stadium is becoming much better. F&B is becoming really important at the heart of experiencing sport. Seats are given a lot more preference. There's a lot of lounges being built, air conditioning. Something as basic as toilets and hygiene is given a lot of importance. So overall, I think fan experience is improving significantly. We're playing our own small role in the ecosystem. We're tying up with franchises and ensuring that we can create a top hospitality product as well. Manoj is not here, but we've tied up with Rajasthan Royals this year, and we've created our own Dream Lounge, which is a 100-seater lounge which takes care of all the factors that I've taken care of, right? Great food, great seats, easy entry, easy exit, celebrities in the box, engagement with the Rajasthan Royal leadership like Sangakkara, Manoj himself, the CEO Jake, and a lot more.
I think the entire idea of this opening conversation was to set the tone that at the end of it, we have to make sure that all the stakeholders that are involved in a sporting league need to be taken care of. At the heart of it is the athletes, who are eventually the product that people come to watch, the stakeholders who put the product together, but the end goal is to make the experience better for those who are consuming the product, and it's the spectators. And the entire idea today is to figure out how we are using innovation to make the experience more immersive, and how do we take this digital landscape to continuously upgrade it. Let me now come to you, Mr. Dani, because you've been ping-ponging between football and table tennis for a while. You do have another enthusiast, as Hayden has made it amply clear. In the years that you've been involved with it, what are some of the steps that have been taken that you've seen in the ISL, that's football? What has sort of percolated into your learnings when you've put together Ultimate Table Tennis? What are some of the innovations that we've already seen from a sporting league perspective that has taken the experience to another level so far?
Let me start with table tennis because that's where we have made lots of innovations. Some of you may know that in table tennis, to win a game, you need a difference of 2 points. But for those who do not know, I thought I'll just mention this. We have come up with this concept called golden points. So if you are at, say, 10 all, instead of going to a difference of 2, which also, kind of affects the broadcast time, we said we'll make it a golden point. Whoever wins the next point wins the game. And that has gone down really well, not only with our league, but now it is being adopted elsewhere in the world, in other leagues and also in other championships and competitions. So I'm glad that while we are the guinea pigs, we are trying things out. It's being, I wouldn't say copied, but at least it's being used elsewhere and is bringing about innovation. We also do heat mapping. What is the angle at which the ball falls? What's the impact? Where does it fall? How much does it spin? And all these things help even for analysis, because players want to see how they are playing, how the ball is spinning, turning, and it also affects their game for the future. We do split screen statistics. So while on one screen the player is playing, the part of the screen shows what is happening, what is happening with the ball, how it is being played, and that statistics also is good for the player in the long run. There is something that I'm going to let out a secret actually today. We are starting a junior league, and in this junior league we are going to use 2-colored ball. And I think that will really, if it works well, it will revolutionize which ball is being used. And imagine half your ball is white and other half is orange. And you see that in slow motion, and that really works well in every sport. So when it spins, how it will look visually, and will bring in a lot of excitement. And I think you will see it this season. What we've learned from IPL and even ISL is also miking. So we cannot mic our players because it's too fast a game and they don't want to lose a point. So we mic the coaches, and that's where some of the strategies come out, how the team is, what they are thinking, what they are planning, and all those things make it exciting on the screen. It's great for broadcast, and that's most important. How do you engage a fan? How do you engage a viewer? Eyeballs is the most critical part in any sport, and that's the only thing that's going to bring you revenues, the numbers of eyeballs. We also have one of the world's best commentators, and he himself plays the game. He understands statistics, data, he understands the game. So he brings in a lot of technical aspect while commentating, and that has really helped our broadcast. And that is what makes the whole game a lot more exciting. So there are lots of innovations. I mean, I don't want to be the only one talking here, saying कि mic mil gaya to abhi chhodte hi nahi hai. But lots of innovations are coming in our game. We want to make it inspirational. We want to make it aspirational, as Matthew said. We want to create heroes, and we want to make sure that it's a game that every person wants to stick around and watch on a screen.
When you were talking about the multicolored ball, I was just thinking of what cricket has done over a period of time, right? We now know that it was red ball and white ball, but now the pink ball format has come in just to make sure, again, that people who want to watch Test cricket when they finish their long days can have access to it. And cricketers have had to adapt as well. How important in this entire process is for the sports people to be open to ideas? And let me ask a question. There was a clip, I don't know if you saw it, there was a time when Shane Warne was playing, I think it was the BBL Heroes, the late Shane Warne, may his soul rest in peace, he's a legend, we love him so much here. And he was talking to the commentators as to what he's going to do the next ball, right? Is Brendan McCullum. And he says that I'm going to now land the ball outside the leg stump, this is the shot he's going to play. And it's exactly what happened. And that, to a viewer, was the most mind-boggling experience. When Anil bhai, you had taken 9 wickets against Pakistan, if the broadcaster came to you and said, we would like to mic you up, I'm guessing you wouldn't have been very complimentary back in the day.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded that, but I think, like you said, most of the innovations that have come in cricket have been broadcast driven. Whether it was the speed gun at the start of when it first came in to understand what the speeds at which the bowlers were bowling at, to what it is now. Even data, cricket has always produced data. Every ball produces millions of data points. But for all of that to be assimilated and ensured that people can dice it through has been thanks to broadcast. And they have come through with various statistics and all of that. And like Hayden mentioned, the primary stakeholder, who is the player, batter or bowler, has always been reluctant to use any of these innovative methods. But I think times are changing. If you look back at 2008 to what it is now, even from a broadcast perspective, the innovations that have come through in the IPL itself, in cricket itself, I think has been massive. We have started using various tools to dissect players, to look at strategies. Even at the auction table, it's no longer just understanding the skills of a player, but also looking at various statistics and how that particular player can influence the game in that kind of a situation. So you're looking at situations, looking at where the entry points of those players are in a game, and then making your choices based on how much money you have, and then taking a call on a particular player based on the stats that has been offered to you. But it's still nascent. I certainly believe that it's still nascent. Yes, just to come to that entrepreneurial point, the sticker that we've developed at Spectacom.
Yeah, if you would like to tell everyone more about Spectacom, please.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a challenge again, because the primary stakeholder, the batter, is still reluctant to put it on the bat. But I certainly believe that in terms of how we can bring in, at the end of it, I think the Indian reality and Indianness in technology needs to be embraced. That's where all the stakeholders need to come together as well. And what it can do to broadcast. At the end of it, it's all about engagement. The reason that people watch sport is because, like Monish mentioned, there is that always that engagement, that intrigue as to what the outcome is. Nobody knows. So that engagement needs to be there, and that's what broadcasters are also trying to do, engage the audience in various different ways. And that's where the innovations need to come through as well.
Could give us just a little more, just like sort of a beginner's guide to everyone. What you intended to do with Spectacom, what are some of the things that it does? I mean, just explain it to them, because this is a technology that is yet to really come onto the mainstream. We would love to see it as commentators. So if you could just tell the audience that is here what you intend to do with Spectacom and what all it offers in terms of it not just being a tool for the players, but also what it could then offer to the spectators.
Yeah, I think, in terms of it's just a sticker, it's just less than 10 grams, so it can go onto the back of the bat, and you just get real-time data about the bat speed, about how much torque there is when the ball hits the bat, which is basically the control at which you hit. I mean, if a head horse hits the bat, it hardly moves. If I hit the ball, then it will go all over the place. And that's the difference between head horse, the batter, and Anil, the batter. And those kind of differences. And of course, for the audience, you put up a power score. It's all about the power game. We saw a 14-year-old smash the daylights of bowlers, and similarly, what's the difference between him smashing the bowler versus what's the difference between a Dre Russ smashing the bowlers? Those kind of intricacies can come through, and all of this can happen in real time. At the end of it, broadcasting organizations are also looking at engaging with the fans, and this is a new sort of profiling that you can do for the batters. At the moment, Hayden was an opening batter, and I was a lower order batter. I'll never call myself a tail-ender. So that's the only difference. Left-hander, right-hander, but there's no profiling. He was an aggressive batter. But the profiling of a batter based on the power is something that this comes through. But I think what certainly I feel is for all stakeholders to sort of agree, like what I mentioned, broadcasters taking the lead, and then it will slowly filter in. Commercialization of the sport will also happen. The other aspect to this whole engagement is the fans. Today, the fans' engagement to cricket itself is just the watching and the viewing, and of course interacting on television, using different digital platforms to engage. You have different camera angles that you can engage. So those are things that the fans do. But imagine you put up a net here and then have a competition amongst all the people who are sitting here, create a leaderboard. And that itself starts a new way of engaging with the fans. And the promotion of the sport itself at a young age. Yes, India, yes, certainly is cricket-centric, but you can take this to countries which don't necessarily have cricket as their central focus on sport. With cricket being a part of the Olympics, this is a great tool. I think innovation will certainly help the sport, but my view is that we need to create more R&D centers in India, where it is mostly focused. The tools that are available today are not necessarily built out of India. The IP that we need to create needs to be Indian IPs going global rather than the other way around. And that's something that I certainly believe that we have done, at least with the example of a Spectacom, is to create that in cricket, and hopefully that will filter into the rest of the sports, because I certainly believe that if you have to win medals, it's not just about training and support to the athletes, but you need to also bring in that scientific, innovative mindset wherein you're deep diving into technology to enable them. Because we have all the tools here, be it AI, be it sports science, be it engineers, be it even coaching. But all of that needs to look at developing from a because our grassroots structure is totally different to what it is in Australia or what is it in England. So I think it needs to be more focused towards India, and that's what I feel, that if we can create that as a priority, then I think we have, it's unlimited, because the potential is here. We have seen that over the last 10 years, how India has become the prime focus for cricket, and we see that with the IPL.
Some of these tools, and Hayden, right now I'm talking about your role as a broadcaster, and that's our primary job. That someone who's watching at home should be entertained, should be informed, should be completely into the game as to what the players might be thinking and how do you simplify that. So how much have some of these innovations that we've got, we've got the technology like the libero. A lot of our cricket viewers would see when a ball is hit into the stands, you get to see the height that the ball goes to, the distance that it travels. If MS Dhoni does a quick stumping, to have the reaction time of 0.26 seconds, or how much distance that a player is running. It's just to make someone back home understand more than just what the visual medium is. So how have some of these innovations helped you as a broadcaster to simplify it, to put across your cricketing genius with the help of these tools to make it more immersive?
Jatin, need and struggle are the key ingredients to the cycle of change. So if I can address the need for a start as a broadcaster now of almost 2 decades, the need is to get a deeper involvement and connection to our fans, to our viewers. And the only way that you can do that is to have a bag of tools that are resources in production. So when I'm on live commentary, I press a little button called the lazy button down to EBS, or our studios downstairs, and I say, I want to see a quick look at Suryavanshi, please, at a shot that's gone over deep mid-wicket. So once he has a replay, then I'll go to Hawkeye, who'll give me a ball tracking of where it's pitched and where it's landed. Then I can go to another package, which then, looks at his bat swing, and you'll see that laser light technology that comes in that looks magnificent on screen, about how his bat goes through an arc. So it's a truly creative space that allows me to immerse myself within the game with a bunch of tools. Now, what Anil is saying here is something that's really important, because it has to be real time. It has to be in a position where because I would love to see, for example, the revolutions that Anil got on the ball, in real time. So speed of ball. And I'd also love to understand how it is that if I'm talking about Andre Russell, I want a pounds per square inch measurement that can actually allow me to quantify how hard he says when I say, oh, he's crushed that one out of the stadium. But I want to know what that crushed is. So if that's actually a metric, or a Suryavanshi, we've just seen this genius that has arrived at our beautiful game, and he's now put onto the landscape a challenge to all young Indians to beat 35 balls to 100. You know, so I want to see if there is a difference between the way that he actually looks at cricket, what his vision is. Firstly, I can talk about that strategically, but I can also talk about it with a real-time metric. So congratulations. I think those innovations are absolutely essential. And quite honestly, I think production in this whole picture tends to get squeezed. You know, the budget is probably always limited to all the other facets of the game because, let's face it, the game is very expensive. You know, when you sit within roles of administration, you understand that the real costs of the game, as opposed to the actual costs of the game, it doesn't account for the volunteer base of the sport. So it's a very expensive proposition, you know, to create the product. I'll say that. I just want to go to that second point quickly on the struggle. The struggle is between now brands of the game that are playing. So in other words, you know, let's take Suryavanshi, for example, is probably our best example because he's likely to have 2.5 decades within the sport. His brand is actually now as powerful as the cricket administration and as powerful as any broadcast position because he now can and will become his own broadcaster. So the power of the brand is now the struggle between the restraints that cricket administration puts on and broadcast partners put on. And so amongst that struggle and at the face of it is the conversation that and the question that you asked, Anil. Would you have been reluctant, you know, to have that technology? Hell yes, we would have, absolutely. Televisions inside the dugout, crosses to coaches, release of strategy. I mean, that's the war chest. The war chest of any athlete is what's in their heart and what's in their mind. That once you start giving that information away, then it becomes something which can be used and does get used against you. So there is that struggle that must be there. But without the struggle, you don't have the innovation because you don't also have that desire to change. And sports as old as cricket, they really do battle with that. But now that the power of the brands are starting to emerge and the actual players themselves can categorically own their own space outside of the forums of sport, now there's a great struggle that exists amongst the administration and the players. And that, my friends, will definitely drive the needle of change. That's the absolute key metric to change.
Beautifully put. It is an expensive sport, guys. Sport broadcast is expensive. And one component haters didn't talk about was the commentator's fee. It's expensive. But Monish, I'm just going to come to you because what we'll talk over the next few minutes is what's in it in the future, right? How do we elevate these experiences? But just coming back to that, Anil bhai, do you think that's also changing now? Like he said, an athlete does not want a camera in his face when they're having a little dugout huddle. But now we see in the middle of a drinks break, there's a spider can that comes. You're sometimes expected to be mic'd up and you're expected to give a little more to the audiences. Has that also now changed with the advent of shorter content places? I don't want to just entirely use the word social media, but almost everyone is now also trying to become a brand in yourself. So there is an opportunity for the athlete that through these immersive experiences, you want to connect with your audiences. An interview means that. Behind the scenes footage, we saw the other day Ricky Ponting talking to everyone in the Punjab Kings dugout. You must have had to do it when you're as a coach. So now, is it also a lot about branding? It's where your personality is reaching out to the world, and that for you as an athlete or a stakeholder is very important too.
Oh yes, absolutely. I think that's the change that we have seen over the last few years, thanks to, of course, social media. I mean, I'd like to use that word because content is something that everyone's creating. And as a young player or an established one, you're letting everyone into your own life. What is going on? People are showcasing that. What is the personality that you have? People are showcasing that. So they're not averse to cameras coming in. Yes, like Hayden mentioned, it was not easy for us to get a camera in. Even after after a victory, when there were questions about can we come into the dressing room to celebrate along with you, we would say, hey, just back off, this is our space. But things have changed now. People would want to do that. People want a mic in hand when they're actually addressing the team about strategy, about giving them a pep talk. So all that has changed because of the content, because of not just that, even when as an audience people are watching the sport, they also have a second device going in front of them. If you're in the stadium watching a sport, you always are on another device, immersing and again consuming content. That is going to again change. And similarly, even if you're on one device, you're again wanting to consume, not just watching cricket on your phone, but in between overs or whenever you get a break, you sort of go into another space, two screens on one, watching two different things and consuming content. So when all of this is here, the player doesn't want to let go of those opportunities, and commercialization is not now restricted to only the standard sort of structured elements, right? It's a lot more different, and the IP is far more immersive and far broader, so to speak, from a player's perspective. So I think all of them are aware, and that's something that's going to change. And with AI coming in, I think whatever we have seen as innovation over the last 25 years will be very different 2 years from now.
We'll talk about AI because we've got Hayden and his daughter's Hindi AI version that we broadcast on Star Sports and Jio Hotstar. But Mrs. Dani, from a league, and this is a good word that Anil Bhai used, everything that you do is now an IP. Your experiences are an IP. It's a property. How important is short form and behind the scenes content? How important is it in building loyalty, especially amongst the younger audiences?
Fans make sport and fans make a game. And that's exactly what you're talking about. You need to connect somewhere with all franchisees. And in our case, we have seen it's all city-based. And there is a fan following. And they do come with their own sets of passion and their own excitement. And they stay with it. As league progresses through the years, and in our case it's the 6th year now, one of the few leagues that have survived that many years, when a player changes teams, very often the fans also change the teams because it's fan following. And for us it's important to create the fan, to create a hero. If you look at 10 years ago, I'm not sure if people could name more than 2 table tennis players. When we started the game, we had 4 players who were in the top 100 across all categories. Today, if I look at only men and women, we have more than 10. So it's important to have those heroes in the game, important to have the fans in the game, and that's the only thing that will work. Make it exciting for the audiences. If you look at how do you make this exciting, like you will say that, okay, there's a table tennis table. We have more than 13 mics on that much space. And that's what makes it exciting. People see it from different views, different angles. Imagine the ball touching the net just by a millicentimeter, but it reflects on the sound. And that's what happens even in cricket, when there are reviews. So what happens is that micro level of detailing that makes the difference whether somebody gets a wicket or somebody doesn't get it. And these are the things that's important. And for me, more than IP, what is important is how do you popularize the game? How do you make it a mainstream game? How do you make it a game where people want to talk about it at dinner table, And that is most important, I feel, no matter which game it is. And now we have seen that in India, we are becoming a multi-sport nation, where they're not talking only about cricket. Nothing against you, gentlemen. But it's important that we do have other sports that are also becoming part of our daily life. And that's more important than anything else. And not only good for health, we are the diabetic capital of the world and we need to change that. Only way we are going to be able to do that is if we are going to be physically more active. So no matter which sport it is, I think we should just encourage everyone to play the sport and popularize it.
Yeah, it just solves so many issues. We don't need to get into tech. I mean, yeah, I think if anyone was trying to applaud, it's a good time because the responsibility is upon us. How do we bring about a sporting culture, sort of a revolution right at the grassroots level where it's not just about making it to league just as an active lifestyle sport? What are some of the innovations, Monish, that we can see as a fan experience in stadia, right? I mean, there can be better seats, but is there something that's maybe in the tech digital space that you're going to be exploring moving forward to make the fans' immersive experience a lot grander?
Yeah, I think this is a really exciting space to be in. As Mrs. Dani said, fans make the game, right? So they have to be at the top end of the funnel, and their experience has to be elevated to a level where technology plus live experience makes a memory. There's a lot of work that's going on there. I mean, some of the innovations that we've seen, the most basic ones are an app. You know, a decade ago, you'll go into the game and only in hospitality, you'll get a really nice brochure which would tell you about who's playing and what the conditions are and what to expect. Nowadays, with every tournament, you have information available on an app. So, you know, whether it's the Olympics or it's the Wimbledon, Euros, you'll download the app, you'll get all the information, how to get in, what to wear, what to carry, what not to carry. And then your tickets are there. So there's, there are innovations around contactless entry. All the stats of the players, everything is available to you while you're there. There's innovation around, putting your phone across the pitch and getting real-time stats of the players that you're focusing on, right? You're not only restricted to the view that you have at the stadium, you've got so many different camera angles. On your phone, you can access how you want to see the game and how you want to engage with the game, right? So whether it's football, whether it's tennis, whether it's cricket, there's innovation that's coming within the next few years, which will make your stadium experience very personalized. It doesn't have to be exactly the way 30,000, 40,000 people experience it, right? So that personalization is very important. The next bit is in terms of your own personal memories. Cameras are going to be there across the stadium. Before I get into that, I have a very personal experience. I was there in Wankhede when Sachin Tendulkar played his last test and gave his retirement speech. All of us were standing. And what was very innovative is they captured each and every person in the stadium. And on a website, you could go and find yourself. And you could find it was very high quality images of you. You could get a print saying I was there, right? And from there, we've moved a long way, right? So now, as soon as you enter, you don't need to do anything. Everything's mapped to your app. It's got your profile. It's got your face. It'll capture images of you throughout the game. It'll figure out what are the high emotions, low emotions, how you've engaged with the game. At the end of the game, on your app, there'll be a summary of your key moments from the game. And then those apps will tell you what your fan journey has been across games, across moments. And I think that's truly immersive in terms of engagement and fan experience. So tech is going to change the way we experience things. Personally, if I was sitting at a game, I was watching football or cricket, I'd love to understand the stats of what the player is, how they performed on that stadium, how they perform against the bowler that's coming or against the opponent if it's football or tennis. So I think all of that makes it extremely immersive in terms of you being at the stadium and seeing it from your own lens and enjoying and having the fun element.
That's actually the progression of, I was reading somewhere, video gaming back in the day was something as a distraction, but now it's all about journeys, right?
Yeah.
Everything then becomes now a journey. If you're playing a long game, you have a profile. So just like that, tracking a fan sport journey, I've been to this venue, I've seen this, and then for someone to be able to quantify it or maybe see it, log into your profile, that's fascinating. Speaking of personalization, something that we take great pride in at Star Sports and Jio Hotstar is being able to broadcast the game in so many different languages, right? Hiros, I mean, you've probably seen, we've got more than, I think, 100 former international cricketers We're taking the game to in Telugu, Kannada, Tamil, Bhojpuri, Marathi, Bengali. Because up until many years, not many years ago, Anil, but it was, you were forced to watch your favorite game in maybe a language where it did not cater to you. Did not make you feel that this is being done for me. And that's something that we've done, and we've done it wholeheartedly. What has the response been? Because you have a lot of your friends who are doing the Kannada feed, and I don't know if you've been sent to that com box as well. You probably have been. Just tell us the impact that's had on audiences.
Yeah, it's been massive. You know, I think vernacular language, getting local, I think has been brilliant for cricket, for commentary. And of course, you know, meeting all your former colleagues at the studio, that's the added bonus. But I think in terms of the kind of reception that you have received, or kind of sort of support that you have received for every language, has only grown over the years, because it's more personalized, like how he mentioned. It's a lot more personalized. And also the language that you speak, yes, it's Kannada, but then speaking Kannada when you're playing cricket is slightly different to how you probably converse. So listening to those words, listening to those, it brings the childhood memory of somebody playing the sport when they were young and watching and listening to a Kannada commentary. And the personalized references to certain things within the state, within what you identify yourself, I think those are something that you can't really get when you're viewing it only in English or, you know, now Hindi. Those two were probably predominant for a long period of time, and then now with the other languages coming through. I think that has certainly changed. It's also brought in new audiences, because people now watch the sport on their mobile phones and then log into their respective languages. So some of them certainly don't understand, you know, one language versus the other. Dialects are different, the accents are different, so it's a bit of a challenge for them. But now to get it in local languages is something very fantastic. And I know that, you know, Hayden did mention about the AI engine working. Yeah. That's something that I'm sure I'm just alluding to probably your next question, but that's something that is an added bonus.
Jatin, may I say something here? As an audience, I think it is great fun to see cricket in another language. I mean, hear the commentary in another language. I think for entertainment, I see it in Gujarati, sometimes in Bhojpuri, sometimes in Marathi, the languages that I understand. And I think everyone here, if you haven't tried it, you must try it. It's great entertainment value.
Yeah, just, I mean, if Mahendra Singh Dhoni is batting, just tune into Bhojpuri. You see how it comes from the heart. Yeah, just try out all the languages. I did that once as well. On one of the rare off days that I had, I was like, let me just listen to it in all languages. Hayden did not, I mean, we didn't need an AI engine to get Hayden to broadcast in Hindi. He could have done it anyway. Right? I mean, he started with Namaskar. He's put out videos of making goat curry with proper masala and everything. The only thing missing is an Aadhaar card for Matthew Hayden and family, which I'm sure we can facilitate. But just the reach it's given to you, Hayden. You've seen that AI engine. I don't know if you guys have, but we've got an AI engine where audio from our experts is fed into it, hours and hours of audio that allows us to take up their English analysis, and at the press of an AI button, in their voice, you can hear it in any language. We saw that with Grace Hayden, your daughter. She did a lot of color stories. We've seen it with you. We've seen it with Kane Williamson. Let's talk about the future. Where is AI taking sport and the experience that it generates for everyone?
I was thinking of what links us all in our various life journeys, and we're actually in the dreaming economy. We're taking advantage of an economy that doesn't exist currently. And how we do that is through connectivity, and how you do that is through communication. You know, so the fact that as an Australian, I can enter into a space that allows me to connect with people in Tamil Nadu or Gujarat or anywhere in this country, simply because I've got an agent that is like an angel agent that allows me to connect with people, because that's what I love to do the most. It's, as a broadcaster, I'm not talking to a camera. When I look down a camera, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to someone that's in a lounge chair, that's giving up their time, that's allowing me the space. And if I can connect in a way through language, that's power. I mean, I'm very jealous actually of the Hindi commentary box because these guys, they're oftentimes the suites next to each other. And I hear these guys laughing and connecting and just having so much fun. And I think, boy, wouldn't it be amazing if I could be in that space? And AI gives me an opportunity to do that. Beyond just the communication piece, though, it is amazing how quickly AI is starting now to navigate its way into all of our lives. Whether you're in the boardroom, whether you're actually in a situation where you're writing an email, you can summarise an email and say, write me an email in a business manner in this sense, and in about 2 seconds, those medial tasks that are quite laborious at times become so instant. You know, so how that's going to affect sports broadcasts is that it's going to pick up my language, and I'm going to, even if I'm starting to make it an interactive session, sometimes I challenge our broadcast suites downstairs because before the packages are built, I say I'd be really interested to see if something was to happen. AI pick that up, and within the space of about 2 seconds, it'll feed a picture back to me. So in the production suite, it'll just make it so fast that in almost real time, I'll get exactly what the point that I was trying to make. Yep. And it's in that the power lays. The statistics are one thing. I mean, now that AI's got access to the web, it's amazing how much it knows and how quickly it is learning from each other. Yeah. So we have to lean into that space. And I'm talking right at the grassroots as well. If you drop things into a space, as athletes, we're very kinesthetic learners. We learn by looking. And there is a million examples of, you know, if you wanted to see Suryavanchi's innings the other night and start entering into the dream of possibly playing for the IPL, it'll be there in that much time.
Just look at how the 14-year-old has captured the imagination. He's now the example. Okay, we're sort of running out of time, so I'm just going to have one final question, and we'll try and keep it short and snappy. If all 4 of you had a blank check to write, and you could go as crazy as you want with the innovation that you would now like to see or bring about in your respective fields that takes the league experience to another level, or in your case, the fan experience to another level, what is that check going in favor of? What's the next in store, the next big thing?
We are already trying that with a ball. We are getting another agency who actually tells you, it has dots on the ball. And they will tell you where the ball will go next, where you are hitting, with how much strength you are hitting, and what it will do to your game. So I think that's the ultimate thing that we can do in table tennis, and that's what we are striving at.
Fab, Anil bhai?
Yeah, I did mention about what we have sort of created or innovated, and that's something that I strongly believe in. The passion is there. Not just taking it to cricket, but looking at how we can create this kind of a reach to other sports too, because I certainly believe that we need to look inward, and then if all stakeholders come together in support of sports tech, because that's something that I think it's still sort of, there's reluctance in the major investors and who are looking at the space to come in, and that's where I feel we could certainly look at, because the next few years and the future is certainly sport, because the recent studies show that we are currently a $50 billion industry. I think by 2030 it's going to be 3 times that, and that was the recent Deloitte and Google sort of report that came through. So if you're looking at that space, then I think people who certainly have those large opportunities to come in, sports tech is the future.
Monish, why don't you go first? I think Hayden is still in deep thought.
So for me, if I could just wave the magic wand and be able to execute it today, I'd have dream suites and dream lounges everywhere across all the stadiums, across all games, to ensure that the fan is at the top end of the funnel, right? The experience is absolutely top-notch when you come in. all the basics that I spoke about in terms of having a really high-end experience in stadium, clubbing that with all the AI and the technology bit that I spoke about would make it an ultimate experience. So hopefully, I get the opportunity to continue doing what I'm doing, and in the next decade, we're able to have very, very high-end experiences across the world for fans.
Hope you got a subsidized seat for me. Hey Ross, final word.
It's a huge question, and I've been given 2 minutes to think about it, but I think the investment, if I had a blank check, would have to go into grassroots. It'd have to go into the investment of multiple sports across multiple pillars, because only then can you start to sustain the sport. I mean, I think we can be quite heavily adjudicated on just how big we dream our silos of talent. But there comes a day when talent needs to be retired, and it comes in it. And guys, I've got to say, it really hurts. The day that you have to give up your toys and start to become part of the real world, it hurts, and it's a huge decision. But hopefully that investment, through cross-sport environments, and it takes a whole-of-country approach. There can't just be private equity involved in this. There can't just be government equity involved. There has to be a lot of sweat equity, actually, because dreams are costly. And so, my love of sport and love of broadcast, I hope, has inspired you all to invest in something which makes us healthier. And ultimately, the one asset that we have is our health. And if sport is a co-creator in a better version of you, whatever that is in life, then it's worth every cent.
Thank you so much, Ross. A big thank you to all our panelists, Mrs. Dani, Anil, Kumble, Matthew, Hayden, Monish, Shah, and a big thank you to all our audience members. I think it's a sweat equity to sports that we can promise to all of them, because if we involve ourselves entirely with the sport, I think any experience would become immersive, because we would know the sport so much better. And as a broadcaster, I would just like to say that we always try and keep the fan at the heart of it, and we will try and keep doing our best to make your experience better. Thank you for being a wonderful audience. Have a great day.